Hi, my name is Felicia Bremin, but you might know me better as Remarin. This is the first time that I do voice recording, so please bear with me. I know I don't have the best accent for these kinds of videos, plus where I live, we don't get many occasions to practice our speaking skills in English. I'm still hoping to make tutorial videos someday too, but to start this off, I'll do a Q&A video first as an introduction of sort. Sorry, I'll probably have to repeat some words to get their pronunciation right. So, I've asked my DeviantArt watchers to send me any question they might have, and you can also feel free to ask your own in the comment section down below. Though I can't say 100% yet if I'll do then a second video or if I'll just answer them by text. I've picked out a couple of questions to talk about, so let's get right to it. Question number 1, an easy one. How much time do you spend making a piece on average? Well, it depends entirely on the piece and how far I want to take it. If it's a colored sketch commission, for example, it can take 1 or 2 hours more or less. If I'm having a bad day though, or if I want to draw a difficult or unusual pose, then I might even have to spend 1 hour alone on getting the initial sketch right. When dealing with difficult perspectives, the number one trouble for me are the proportions and anatomy stuff, that kind of things. If it's a personal piece, it depends on its scale and on whether it's out of my comfort zone or not. It can take from 1 hour to 4 hours, and if I really want to go all out with it, I'll spend multiple days on it. Though I've become very used to getting things done at a fast pace, and often in one sitting too, so those large projects don't happen very often. The last time I spent about 10 hours, it was on this piece. I wanted to finish it to print out for a competition. As I was still very new to painting things at that time, I was only able to do the process detail by detail. Now I've gotten better at painting and I'm more comfortable with the entire process. I'm now able to go from sketch to a bit more detailed sketch to finished piece. Question number 2. What's the most and least fun part of the art process for you? The most fun would be the first sketch. It's the quickest part, and in many cases the first sketch, the initial blob of colors and shapes, is the most important part to get right. If everything works well, the poses work, the proportions look right, the colors fit, then I won't have too many troubles while doing the entire rest of the process. If I don't like the rough sketch, or if there are any parts that look wrong or that I just ignore and keep on drawing, then there's a big chance that I will still notice those faults at the end of it. If possible, I'll try to hide or cover up the things that aren't working during the drawing, but it's not always working out. The times where it's been the easiest or most fun is when I'm hit with a clear idea or inspiration, then everything seems to just fit in. And there isn't much that I don't like about the drawing process. The times where I disliked doing something, it was mostly because I felt that it didn't look right, or when despite the effort I put in certain things, that they will later not be visible, for example, details and clean line art that get lost in dark shading. I guess a bad feeling as well is when you're making something look worse the longer you work on it. Then the only solution is either to accept that there's nothing more to add, or to or to take a break and come back to the piece sometime later. Question numéro 3. What or who got you into drawing? And when did you start getting more serious about art? I was really young when I first noticed that drawing was something fun to do. To be precise, I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and the reason I wanted to draw initially was because I felt it was the best way to communicate to my friends why they should also like dragons. I don't know what it was about dragons, I just really liked them. Plus, I was really quiet. I had a bit trouble of expressing myself through words, writing or speaking. So most of my time I spent drawing, or reading, or watching TV. Now for the second part of the question. There wasn't exactly one singular moment, the moment I became serious about art. It happened in steps. Online, it started by doing small commissions. I started doing them because I noticed other people were doing them too. And who doesn't want some extra money to buy? I don't know what I bought back then. I think I mostly saved up for the time where I'll be an adult or something. Though for the longest time I regarded commissions mostly as extra practice. For example, the only reason why I'm now more confident in drawing human bodies than drawing human faces or their feet is because I've been commissioned to draw humanoid creatures, well, a couple of times. In any case, after having gotten many times helpful feedback on information about prices or how to organize myself, really any time I asked about whether I should raise the prices, I kept growing, and I was starting to look at commissions as a part-time job at some point. From then on, it was like a click experience. I realized that I could just continue doing commissions even after school. Outside of school. After school. Plus that I would enjoy doing it and even earn a decent amount of extra money. Though in the future, how much or how often I will do them will of course depend on what I'll be doing with my future. Okay, question number 4. What do you do when you lack motivation or inspiration to draw? When lacking motivation, it might be a good time to take a break. Do something completely different and let time bring back the want to touch a pen or open Photoshop or any art program. But if you don't want to let time take care of that, you could just force yourself to struggle through it. However, it might be easier to simply grow used to drawing without motivation. And how do you do that? Keep a journal or tiny sketchbook with you at all time. Doodle in it when bored or waiting. It doesn't have to look good. It doesn't have to be original or new. You can draw the same thing page after page if you have to. As long as you do something. It will help improve your habits. It doesn't have to improve your skills or any of these stressful things like being good at art. At some point, you will no longer have to wait for that perfect moment when motivation and inspiration hit you at the same time. When I lack inspiration, I either go looking for something that might simply be fun to draw, or I check if I have any commissions waiting, or I look for something that I should or could practice. Though I realize that the only reason why that works for me now is because I'm now more or less able to draw on command, even when I'm having a bad art day. Because how do you get the motivation to draw something which you don't necessarily feel is worth drawing. Most often it's the inspiration that drives you at the beginning, that gives you the feeling of, I need to draw this now. Once you're no longer dependent on that, it gets easier to simply be productive and to draw art all day, every day. Question number 5. Question number 5. Do you have any tips on how to market yourself? This being profitable sites to upload your art to outside of DeviantArt, communities to branch out into, or a similar question, do you have any advice on selling art online? Maybe just tips or skills you've learned, something you wish you knew before you got into selling online. I'm not yet too active on other art sites, so I can't give much help on that, and the community thing as well. On a financial point of view, I'm currently focused mostly on commissions through DeviantArt and the YouTube videos with the ad revenue. I know of some artists that have gotten noticed by bigger companies and gotten their jobs because they participated in countless of online contests. Those there who are held by art forums. Because I don't know many. DeviantArt isn't the best site for marketing yourself or for making it big. It's good for starting a community or fan base, if you want to call it that. And it's also really good to give experience. If you want to have experience in working with people, communicating, and knowing how it is to draw for other people, you can of course, upload your art on other social media sites like Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff. But even then, it can be difficult to manage them all at once, to stay active at them, on them. I'm basically just listing off what comes to mind. And on giving advice on selling art or doing commissions, I've had the luck of having a really good experience with my commissioners. So it might be easy for me to say, but try to be as polite and friendly as possible. It's always better to over-communicate than to say too little. I would really like to give this advice as well as a last little note, but it would also be hypocritical of me because I never really followed it myself. So if a commission is too difficult for you to do, then talk to the commissioner about it. I've never really told the commissioner if I'm having troubles because I was either too stubborn, proud, or anxious because it's already been too long or something. I don't like to go back on my word once I say that it's okay for me to do. So I guess a lesson that I needed to have learned at the beginning was that it's okay to say no. It's okay to decline someone. Okay, question number 6. What is your working environment like? Is there anything that harms or helps your creativity? Things like time of day, messy surroundings, etc. And well, I only need space for my computer, tablet, and then I'm able to work, which means I'm really messy. The thing that, for one, is harming my productivity is internet. If I went back to the times I didn't really know how to entertain myself or pass time with a computer, then I would simply be drawing all day long. It would be second nature, though the internet helps with creativity in a way, because it gives access to the art of so many other people, their art styles, ideas, and even their own source of inspiration. This is one of the main reasons why I keep a Tumblr blog, for example. it's to keep a collection of ideas, references, and cool art. Well, other than that, I also don't mind going to art galleries or museums if they hold an interesting looking exhibition. Yeah. Question number 7. Do you do studies of landscapes, animals, still lifes, and the such often? No, but I should do them more often. And I recommend doing them too. I've reached a point, though, where I can improvise or find a way around drawing the things that I don't know how to. Plus, I've developed a good sense on how stuff is supposed to look in certain situations, like what lighting and time of day, not day of time, and such. I've started doing landscape practices a while ago, but they're done without reference, which I should also change, but the main reason why I'm not doing it is laziness, I guess. I keep telling myself that I'll do some focused studies once I have more time to invest into those things. But the real issue is simply that I'm currently not making time for it. In any case, it would certainly be a good habit to have, making studies and doing the serious stuff. Question number 8. Do you have any advice in regards to anatomy practice and shading? And this person also mentioned, how do I draw poses? So, this question I've been asked in private, to which I've written a long response to, but I've gotten similar questions before, so I thought it might be helpful to some to include this one here as well. This is basically what I've written. For poses, it helps to find and to try and find new interesting angles, twists, exaggerations, but it will help your improvement in the long run. Though the most important part is to simply have fun and experiment. Working hard to get difficult poses right won't be satisfying if you're forcing yourself too much. Sometimes it's a blurry line that gets crossed once you've spent too much time. Then you can either step back, take a break, do a different pose, or struggle through it even if it ends up looking wrong, so to say. But something looking wrong is still okay. It's just difficult to accept that in the process of drawing. Now, for anatomy, it would be, of course, ideal to actually sit down and study the muscles and bone structure of the creature you want to draw. But that requires patience, research, and effort. I still plan on someday sitting down and actually learn how dogs work, for example, because right now I'm mostly drawing by visual memory and improvisation. Now, to improvise your anatomy, you don't necessarily need to study the specific biology of one animal, but you can copy some stuff, for example, human anatomy. I tend to mix in certain muscles that are more prominent in humans than in dogs. Knowing how to improvise anatomy is also important for drawing fancy creatures, for example. And in addition to that, there are way more video tutorials on how human anatomy works than any other animal that I know of. So even if you don't intend to draw any humanoids, it can be really helpful to watch those for improving your general understanding on how muscles and bones work together. But even if I do look at tutorials and practice tips, I usually am not able to take away 100% of what they teach or talk about. Sometimes it's even just one visual detail that gets stuck, which I then try to integrate in my next drawings. This visual detail gets stuck because maybe it looks cool, or I think it's a neat way to simplify a complex body structure or something. So if the integration works out and fits with my drawing style, then it will become a permanent addition to the drawing. So as a conclusion to that, look at tutorials for any kind of anatomy or breakdown of bodies, how to sketch, etc. If there's anything that looks cool or that you want to be able to replicate, then try keeping it in mind for the next art piece you'll do. The improvement will go on long term, but it takes way less effort than sitting down for days to study intensively. I've until now probably done like 3 or 5 actual anatomy studies where I've drawn different muscles, structures and such. That was my cat. Where was I? Where I've drawn different muscles. So at that time it didn't feel like it helped me much, because you gotta do a bit more than that, more than 3 or 5 times. Now, for the shading part. Shading is a bit trickier because there are lots of things you need to take in account. I make many of my decisions on color, hue, saturation, all based on instinct and what feels right. So look at real life, look at photography, look at old paintings, and ask yourself, what is it that makes it look like shadow and light? What colors did I use? What time of day is it in the picture? What are the weather conditions? Is there reflected light? Is something casting a cast shadow? It's difficult to keep all these questions in mind when drawing. So I also still miscalculate or misplan, sketch plenty of times where in the end the light and shadow relation doesn't make sense or something. But in the end, if you do spend those extra thoughts on what, when, how, where, it will show in the final result. You, of course, don't have to try and replicate realism, but knowing even vaguely the different ways shadow and light can appear on different materials, for example, can help get you a better feel for it. Then for style and stylization, I guess a key point is finding a drawing process, a way to simplify forms and shapes, and finding the tools that you are comfortable with using. Tools here can also include the knowledge you know about shadow physics and whatnot, since you don't have to use that knowledge for every painting. Doing a simplified cartoon doesn't really have to have the most realistic rendering of the material like metals or cloth. For a long time, for example, I felt that my shading clashed in style way too much with my line art style. A notable change happened once I've gotten into digital painting, lineless painting, one-layer painting, whatever you may call it. It varies from time to time. And at that time, I've also found what brushes fit nicely to the way I draw. I recommend you play around with many kinds of brushes, the soft ones, the hard edge ones, the textured ones, etc. There are so many variables that can impact your style, impact the style you have. And to find the brushes that you feel comfortable using, you have to experiment with them, play around, make fun paintings that don't have to look good, just to test what effects you can get out of them, and if you like those effects, if you think you can integrate them in your paintings later on, or drawings, just plain drawings. Okay, now let me know if this has been helpful or if you'd like me to do more Q&A videos in the future. You can ask your own questions down below or suggest any topics you want me to talk about, like doing tutorials or so on. Thank you for watching.